welcome to a very special Thanksgiving episode of Super Gametalk Turbo HD Remix. I am your host, Travis Brown, and as always, I am joined by the ever so thankful Vertigo Tea Party.
Greetings, Radioland.
We would like to take this time to offer up all that we are thankful for as Sorry, I can't keep that up very long. Oh man,
Let's run with it.
All right. We were planning on doing the entire episode like that, and just as a test to see how dedicated our fans are, and if they would stick around for the 2 hours of soft spoken thankfulness. But I'm afraid I couldn't keep it up.
I probably could not have either, so it's fine.
Yeah, so it is Thanksgiving. We're recording this a little after noon on Thanksgiving. I've yet to imbibe in the annual feast of bird, but that will be coming later this afternoon. And yeah, we hadn't recorded an episode in a while, so we figured, why not do it on a holiday?
Of course.
Yeah.
Because we're dedicated.
Exactly. It's this time of year is a good time to be a gamer. So
It is. We're so dedicated that we make sure to bring you a new podcast every week-ish.
Yeah. Depending on how you define the word week, usually
Or consistent.
Yeah. Or podcast.
Right.
All of those things are kind of fluid here. But yeah, I guess we've got some Thanksgiving themed questions later on, but I think we're just gonna stick to the tried and true format of what you've been playing. So, what you been playing, Johnny?
Well, the main game that I have been playing a lot of the last 2 to 3 weeks has been the Heroes of the Storm alpha. The technical alpha is what they're calling it.
So this is like Blizzard's Dota.
Exactly.
Which,
in fact,
that sentence sounds really dumb, but
isn't that what they called it originally? Blizzard Dota or something? But then
I think so.
There was a little bit of snafu, like
and then
lawyers got involved.
Valve was like, "No, you can't do that. That's not your brand." What?
Yeah, that was an interesting legal battle. Seeing how,
really
for those who
weird.
don't know, Defense of the Ancients or Dota it started as a Warcraft 3 mod. No, it was a StarCraft mod. Wait, or was
No,
it?
it's a
Anyway,
Warcraft mod.
it was a mod. Yeah, Warcraft 3 mod that got really, really popular. And so, but then there was Dota 2, which Valve started making. So then Blizzard started making Blizzard Dota or something. I think they call it Blizzard Dota, something like that. Anyway, but then I guess they were like, Valve was like, hey, you can't do that. But that had to be a kick to Blizzard, right? As like, you used our engine for this game, and we can't even use the name.
Well, it's a really interesting legal precedence because it goes to show that if somebody creates a mod on your game, you have absolutely no ownership of the identity or brand of that. Unless you stated in your terms of service, which I'm assuming now games with mod engines do have that. Like anything you create is the ownership of us, or at least joint ownership. They probably have that now. But I'm assuming they didn't for Warcraft 3.
Or maybe they had it and it just wasn't legally binding. Because they'll throw anything into an end user license agreement, but it doesn't necessarily mean it'll hold up in court.
They do throw everything in it.
Yeah.
They're insane, man.
The other thing that really blows my mind about the whole thing is the Dota thing just came from one guy. Like one guy came up with the idea.
Yeah.
And it just is now the by far biggest esports that there is. Like the genre he created mostly himself. That just blows my mind.
And there's no other example of a game where there are multiple variants of this. I mean, essentially, I know that there are tons of big differences and nuanced differences, but essentially they're the same game. Like League of Legends, Dota 2, Blizzard All-Stars, Heroes of New Earth, they are Dota. They have their own versions and idiosyncrasies, but the map is the same, the lanes are the same, the jungles are the same. But it's just amazing that game had so many different releases. I guess because it was born as a mod. If it had been born in like the traditional way, then I think all these other variants, would have had like you can't do that. Like that's the same game. Like or people would have perceived it as a ripoff.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Because I think because I remember when both League of Legends and Heroes and New Earth or whatever were in development, and I remember discussions about them. And I think it was Heroes. It must have been Heroes where they basically just took Dota and like copied Heroes over and maybe named them different and gave them different skins, but
Yeah.
they were the same heroes.
Yeah.
But then League of Legends was like, well, we're gonna take the same concept, but we're going to kind of run a different place with it. And I know one of those companies at least had some of the major people that were involved in later stages of Dota and Dota All Stars, but I don't know. Didn't the guy who originally came up with Dota, doesn't he work at Valve now?
Yeah, I think so. It's like Ice Frog or something like that.
Yeah, Ice Frog, I think was his name.
Yeah,
But yeah,
that's his given name.
yeah, that's his
His-
real name actually.
yes, yeah.
He's Nordic. He don't insult him. But yeah, anyway, that just blows my mind how that whole thing just blew up from one guy's mod. It just
Yeah.
turned into this huge thing. But at
So
any rate,
yeah, so I never thought you were really into Dota games, but are you really enjoying this one?
yeah, oh, I do. I actually do like MOBAs. But the thing about MOBAs, which everybody knows, is they probably have outside of Xbox Live, they probably have the worst communities on
Yes.
Earth.
Oh my God, yes.
The communities are total garbage in MOBAs. And
They're
like,
toxic.
yeah, they are horrible. Like you will have like, if you make a one mistake or one perceived mistake, the one guy with like 2 kills and 15 deaths will go on about how you should kill yourself and how you're a terrible player and etc.
Yeah.
So yeah, more games are starting to trying to put a curb on that. I think like League of Legends is trying to get a handle on it. Blizzard, I don't know what Blizzard has said they're going to do about it. You can report people in the game, but it's like a cryptic way to do it. You can't do it in the match. You have to wait till the match is over, and then look at the stat screen, right click on the portrait of the person you want to report and report them. It's just
Weird.
really dumb. Like that should have been the number one thing you worked on was how to report crappy players.
Because
Like
it's
that,
the biggest problem with the genre, I think.
yeah, it's by far the biggest thing that probably keeps people out is because people are just so crappy they don't have to deal with these idiots. So that absolutely needs to be a number one priority going forward. And I like MOBAs are fun. I used to play Dota, back in the day, even before Dota All Stars, just to kind of emphasize how cool I am. But it's because I remember hearing about Dota All Stars, and it's like, what? You can go over level 10? It's like that seems overpowered. But I love MOBAs. But the one thing that's other than the incredibly terrible community that they have is the other thing is just the items. The way the items works in MOBAs, and a lot of them, is like, okay, I can buy these boots that make me go a little faster, and then I can buy this sword that adds +1 damage or whatever. So I buy
And
that
this
stuff.
is within a match. Like this
Yes.
isn't like
Yeah.
persistent.
Yeah, and this is not like with real money or anything. This is
Yeah.
this is a per match thing. And you get gold from killing what's called creeps. Basically, their minions spawn in both bases, and then they attack each other in the middle. And then you have to kill the enemy minions while you're trying to kill and avoid being killed by the enemy heroes, stuff like that. So, you kill their creeps to get gold, or their minions, whatever you want to call them, and then you go buy more items. Well, which sounds simple, but the problem is almost all of the higher tier items you have to combine other items for. So if I want the sword slayer of Akanash, then I have to take the wooden sword plus the orb of Auroch plus this other item and buy them all at the same time, and then go back to the vendor and then buy the uber sword. See, and you need to find out, and different heroes have different weapons and items that are good for them. So not only do you need to remember item combinations that you need to be going for,
Hmm.
it's dependent on heroes. So if you play more than one hero, which you probably are going to do because you're going to get into games where somebody's already picked the hero you want, then you have to remember all these different weapon combinations, and it's just
Yeah,
a huge pain.
it's not like the game pauses when you're trying to buy something either. Like this
Right.
is in the middle of a match, like while people are advancing, go into the item shop and make all these decisions. The biggest reason I never got into it is I just found the whole thing too stressful. Like
Yeah.
it's just like I have to learn so much, I have to act so fast, and I just feel stressed the entire time. I mean, maybe that says something about my nature as a gamer. Like I I I don't know though. I don't have a problem with StarCraft. Like StarCraft I think is fun just because I think it's just less details to remember. It's more about execution than details. I don't know.
Yeah, that's the interesting thing about Heroes of the Storm is, and a lot of people call it dumbed down, and frankly, it is because one, there's no items at all. At least right now, there's no
Blah,
items.
blah?
Yeah, there's absolutely no items to buy.
Is
So
that
there's,
for now or is that the intended design?
as far as I know, it's the intended design.
Huh.
Apparently, somebody who follows Dota, Heroes of the Storm. By the way, and let's just get this out there. It is amazingly stupid of Blizzard to have named this Heroes of the
I
Storm
know,
when they
seriously.
already had Heart of the
Heart of the
Swarm.
Swarm. Yeah. Because
Somebody,
now you say HOTS, you don't know what you're talking about. Like,
yeah, it's like somebody during the meetings had to went, oh, whoa, 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 hold on. That's HOTS. That's the same as Heart of the Swarm. Guys, hold on. No. Sit back down. We gotta keep working on this. I
yeah,
know you gotta go
anything.
to lunch, but yeah, no. Heroes of Blizzard. I don't know. That's terrible. That's even worse.
And it's
But
not like that title is like perfect or something. Like, it's not like,
right,
oh, but here's the storm is so good. Like, it's like, it's so generic anyway. Like, it's just,
right.
it could be called like Champions of the Tornado. I don't know. Like,
Yeah,
call
yeah,
it something
exactly.
different.
Shot. Champions. Shot. See that? Or cot. Yeah,
Cot.
cot. See that right out. I'm gonna play
There
me
you
some
go.
cot today. I got the cot alpha. So yeah, that sounds that's great. So yeah. Anyway, stupid naming on their part, but regardless, there's no items, and they're definitely trying to do a better job of getting new players into the game. When you start, there's like a very short tutorial
Hmm.
showing you how to play, like the basics, like, okay, these are minions, you need to kill those for experience so that you can upgrade your abilities and pick up talents and things like that. And once you actually get to the real game, there's two modes. There's the typical like player versus player, so you have like 5 people on one team, 5 people on the other team, but they also have a co-op mode where it's the same thing, but all the players on one team and then the CPU controlled characters on the other, so you can learn new heroes, figure out how the maps work, figure out how the game works, and there's no pressure because you
Yeah.
win the vast majority of anti CPU games because they're not that good. I mean,
That I
they
think
do
is
all right,
the
but
biggest problem. It's like, if I want to learn these games, I have to learn these games while people who have already learned the game are playing.
and on
And that,
top of that, are very toxic.
yeah, and that's what creates the toxic situation because they're they're at a stage in their, I guess, game playing experience that is different than the stage you're at, and they have to deal with you, and
Right,
you negatively impact their experience because of
right.
the very nature that you're inexperienced. So it's almost like, of course, people are going to be toxic. Like, that's not just to justify people's bad behavior, but it's just an explanation.
Yeah, well, yeah, and I agree, and I get totally frustrated with people too now,
Yeah.
especially because it looks like there was a new wave of invites recently. So there's some people who are obviously very new. So it can be very frustrating, and you want to rip their head off when you see them doing stupid stuff. But
Yeah.
like, I tried to be like, hey guys, make sure to get the objectives as soon as they spawn. Like, yeah, and it was funny too. And there's a few times this has happened where somebody is like, God, you morons, you're the worst, and like everybody else just made fun of that person. So like, what I'll do
Interesting.
is, because I hate this, but I find it amusing when I do it, so maybe it's hypocritical. But I'll be like, uh oh, looks like somebody's got a case of the mads. And like, so we'll like start making fun of that. Like one game in particular, the guy was just like all caps going crazy. And we're like, whoa, this dude sounds super mad. And like, we were like banter back and forth with just stupid stuff. Like the Malfurion, once we get level 10, he's like, hey guys, I had a heal now. We're set now. We're good. And I'm like, sweet, we're going to be immortal. We got this, guys. And so, like, we just said like dumb stuff. Like the guy's like, God, kill the buildings. And I was like, what buildings? Like, what are you talking about? Like, and we ended up losing that game. And like right at the end, the last thing I said was, I think we won. Like as the big defeat screen came up. Like, so we just like taunted the guy, which I think is the appropriate response.
Well, it's interesting because if they're starting a new Dota community after like the community problems of Dota are well established, and it seems like their design is a little less, I guess is more approachable. So
right. It's definitely
if more people like jump in, and from the start the community is less toxic and more receptive to people just experiencing it. Because the thing is, probably if you're the kind of person who's like, I want to be a professional gamer and I want to really like play for status. Like if you're playing for status, you're probably not going to play this game. You're going to play Dota 2, where the international tournaments take place, you know. But it would be interesting for Blizzard to fill a niche of, Dota for babbies. I don't know, like just kind of like, this is just fun Dota. Like this, it's kind of like popcorn Dota. I don't know.
Right. And it's not to say that there's not nuances and that there can't be, competitions with really skilled players and stuff.
Yeah.
But let's be honest, it is much, much easier to get into because of the lack of items. Because the way that it's set up, it's much easier to get into. And, and I like that because I don't have to remember all that crap.
Yeah.
And hopefully, they'll do things to make the community not terrible, like making it easy to block it. Like I've heard if you block someone, like I heard it won't put you in a game with them later on, stuff like that. That's a good start, but they definitely need to be on the ball on banning people.
Yeah.
For saying, maybe not even just like saying certain things. Like if enough people block that person, maybe they go, we auto check into this person, check their chat logs. And, oh, those are some words that are on the block list. Let's go ahead and ban this guy for a week. Just to say, look, this kind of stuff's not acceptable. And
I think in the same way that you have like a balanced team who's putting out balance patches and always looking to kind of, evaluating the balance and making code changes when necessary, there needs to be community changes like that too. Like a team of community people that are evaluating the health of the community, that add functionality or modify functionality on a regular basis to make the community as good as possible.
Right. Yeah, and we'll see what they do, but I have no doubt that Blizzard is well aware of the problem.
Yeah.
And we'll work on it. But it's a hell of a fun game so far. I've really just been sucked into it completely. I don't know how many hours I've got into it.
Somebody out there is kind enough to invite me. I don't know. It sounds really cool, man.
Yeah, well, they had a contest that I didn't know about for a while, which kind of threw me off. But basically, it was like if you got your player level to 20, every person on your BattleNet friends list theoretically the contest was everyone who hit level 20 by this date would get thrown into the contest, and like X number of accounts would win, and you'd win by every person on your friends list being invited to the alpha.
That's cool.
But I think like not enough people were doing it, so they were just inviting like every person who got to level 20, or they did it for every person who got to 20. They'd put their friends list, and I tried to get up there fast enough, but I missed it by a couple days.
Oh man.
Yeah, unfortunately, I didn't know about the contest until later. But I went ahead and like now I'm like level 24, 25.
Just, like, not slept or something. I mean,
I know, right? I should have just called out of work for a few days.
Can't make it. Sorry.
Just called out forever. Sorry, guys. I got to do this HOTS thing. They're like, wait, do you mean HOTS? You
Which
here's the
HOTS are you
storm? Or,
talking
wait,
about?
hold on. We got to know. But yeah, so, talk about like the details, like what makes it different. I don't really watch League of Legends because I don't know what's going on, because I don't know what the heroes do. So I've watched a little bit of it, but I don't. Again, I understand the basic premise, but specific heroes and stuff, I don't understand how it works. Blah blah blah. So I don't really get into it. I never really was interested in it. Again, because the community's got awful. I played
Yeah.
a little bit of Dota 2 on with like Valve's Dota 2.
I think I played the tutorial.
Yeah, I got into my third game of Dota 2 before somebody was calling me names. So
Yeah.
yeah, I was like, well, yeah, that's pretty typical. But it was still fun, and I knew the heroes, right? Because it's just the Dota heroes in Dota 2, so I understood the heroes. With Heroes of the Storm, I definitely feel like it's gonna be easier for people to follow because there's not like items and all this. Items is really the big thing, honestly. Items is the
Yeah.
big thing that's missing. The big addition is objectives, and normally your objective is just kill all the enemies' buildings until you get to their core building and kill the core building, and then you win automatically.
Right.
Well, with the Blizzard maps, every map has a different objective. So, for example,
Wait.
there's yes,
Maps? You had an S at the end of that.
yes, yes.
Oh my god. There's.
I do think those like League of Legends. I'm pretty sure has multiple maps. I think.
Oh, okay.
I think. I don't
I
know.
always thought like one of the core tenets of Dota was that there was one map, the map.
Well, Dota originally, yes, only had the one
Yeah.
map for decades, decades literally. But I don't think. I don't know if the other ones have as many maps, but even with the variations, they're very similar in that you have lanes.
Yeah.
That all the enemies come through like a mid lane, a top, bottom, etc. Well, there's multiple maps. Again, same principle on each one. There's 3 lanes, and the minions come down the 3 different spawning lanes. But for example, with one pirate map, there's minions around the map, like NPCs that just kind of sit around waiting for you to kill them, that will drop gold, and they'll also spawn chests that have gold in them throughout the match. And then there's a pirate in the middle. If you pay the pirate X amount of money, which goes up every time you pay him, he'll just bombard the enemy defenses. So he'll just blast the enemy towers and stuff. And another map, for example, you have to collect like these 3 omens that spawn. And if you collect, or you have to keep collecting them, and every time you collect 3, all the enemies' minions, which are their little NPCs that attack the lanes, have only 1 hit point for about like 45 seconds. Also, their towers don't shoot at you, and the towers do a ton of damage. So it's a big time to push into their base. So they have these different objectives, and the objectives are very, very important. It's super rare for a team to win that didn't also get more of the objectives. Almost always, if you get the objectives, you're going to win the match. So that's a good barometer of who's going to win because they're so important.
So that sounds like a really good design way to make the experience more approachable again, because like it's making it more like when you get dropped into a Dota match and you're kind of new at it, it's just kind of like you don't have a lot of direction. I mean, it's kind of open. You can go up different lanes, you can attack stuff, you can jungle, whatever. But like with objectives, I feel like that kind of guides you. Hey, maybe do this, maybe try this. Like,
right.
I guess I like that. That sounds cool.
I do like it. Sometimes though, I just want to lane. So I would like to see them add a map where there isn't objectives. There is just a classic map where you just lane.
That
because
sounds like
sometimes
an easy variant to do.
Yeah, exactly. Just make a map, but no objectives. I just as like one of those, just to kind of mix it up a bit by taking objectives out, because sometimes it can be annoying because you're just getting into a lane fight, and it's like, oh no, the objectives have spawned. You have to go do the objectives now. Which I mean, usually that in itself is exciting because both teams are going for the objectives. So a lot of times, it encourages a lot of team fights. So that it keeps it very active in that, because I know a lot of times with, or at least early game MOBAs, it's mostly just the heroes attacking waves of creeps. But they've kind of fixed that problem by having the objectives. So you have a lot of forced team fights because both teams theoretically should be going for the objectives. The way they do heroes is interesting. They have a free rotation of heroes. I think it's up to 5 heroes that changes every week. Obviously, you can play those all you want until the week's out. You make gold by doing certain things. You can level the hero up by just playing games with them. and once that hero hits level 5, you gain 500 gold. You have a player level, which is, again, levels just by you leveling. You get some
Mm-hmm.
gold at certain checkpoints. And you also get a little bit of gold for level or for doing games. Very, very little though. You win 30 gold for winning a game. And to put that in perspective, the cheapest heroes are 2,000 gold. The most
Jeez.
expensive are 10,000. So yeah, it's gold. Once you start getting most or all the heroes to level 5, gold plummets. Like, well, even up to that point, it's like once you hit character level 10, your gold income drops drastically. Like, it drops a ton. And
Hmm.
then if you start maxing out all the hero, well, not maxing, but getting the 5, I mean, the gold is going to be at an anemic, like, very slow pace. You're talking 30 gold every 20 to 40 minutes. And that's if you win. If you lose, I think it's 20 gold, something like that. So,
Yeah, because
I mean,
I
it's,
mean, one of the biggest, I guess, one of the big problems with online games like this is that a ton of people like fly through content, and I know it seems artificial to like lower the income like that, but this makes people like play for a long time. Like,
yeah, but just, I think the hero prices are too high
yeah,
given the gold income. I think I'd rather see the hero prices drop and like leave other stuff like cosmetics that, like, mount variations and skins and all that. Leave those the same price, that's fine. But decrease the cost of heroes, because it feels like, oh man, like choosing a hero to buy is agonizing, because it's like, well, I don't want to screw up, because if I end up not liking this hero or never playing them, that's hours upon hours of playing that are gone. Now, of
yeah,
course, you could just say, well, just buy the hero with real money, which that's, valid. At some point, you have to realize, I've been playing this game for 35, 40 hours. I haven't spent a single dime. I shouldn't really whine too much if I want to spend $5 for a hero.
yeah. And so that's the are they $5 across the board or they priced differently?
They're priced differently. Like,
Yeah,
I don't know quite how they decided like what heroes get what prices. It's not like strength. I think they're trying to do it more difficulty, because some
yeah,
heroes are designed to be pretty easy to just hop in and play like fairly well. And, like, if you don't know what you're doing, as long as you know the basics, you'll do okay. But then there's other heroes where you really need to understand the mechanics of the game and or that hero before you can do well.
yeah.
And those heroes seem to typically be a little bit more on the expensive side, while the easier heroes tend to seem to want to be cheaper. But I think the cheapest heroes, the 2,000 gold heroes, I think those are like $3 or something like that. And then the 10,000 gold heroes are $10.
Hmm.
Which, again, to me, $10 for a hero seems a bit excessive.
So they're taking this this is beta, closed beta, or it's
No,
alpha?
it's alpha. They're calling
Okay.
technical alpha, I guess.
So they're taking real money though.
Yeah, oh yeah, yeah.
Okay.
The thing is, now here's what I find interesting is that they've said, okay, well, first off, they've said that going forward, they're going to try to do no more wipes whatsoever. They're going to try, and I
Even like
understand, right?
1.0, like they won't do a wipe from alpha to beta or from beta to general release.
My understanding is no wipes at all.
That's cool.
So, and they said they're going to try. Now they're not promising. So, it's under the understanding that, something horrific goes wrong, then they might do a wipe, but they're going to
Yeah.
try not to do any wipes. So that's one thing. And two, they've said that if you buy a hero, whether it be money or gold, you're going to keep that hero forever now. So
Okay.
I
That's the
bought,
big part.
yeah, that's pretty big. I mean, I could definitely understand with money, right? Them saying, if you buy a character with money, obviously you're going to keep it, or they'll recompensate you with whatever the equivalent amount of gold would be. So
Yeah.
that makes sense. But I find it interesting. Like, I bought Abathur, a character called Abathur, with gold. So now, forever, until release and including after release, I have access to that character now forever. So that's cool. I think it's cool that they're doing that.
Yeah.
That they're not just saying, oh, well, nope, sorry, that was an alpha thing. You have to regrind and re-get your gold back, and have to buy the hero. So I think that's really cool of them to do. So yeah, I've been looking at. I've got like 11,000 gold again because Abathur was 10,000. So I'm looking to at what heroes to buy next. But yeah, I'm hoping they tweak the hero cost, like maybe lower the gold cost and the money costs on the more expensive heroes. Because like I say, to me, and again, I don't really follow League of Legends, so I have no idea what the price comparison would be. But $10 for a single hero to me sounds crazy, especially given that already I think there's like 25 to 30 heroes at least.
Yeah.
That's just right now in the alpha.
Yeah, because they're probably planning at least
Oh,
100
there's
or
going to
so
be.
by.
Oh yeah. Well, maybe not release at 100, but
Yeah.
there's probably going to be a lot. I mean, they've already announced 4 more, I think. It was Thrall, Jaina, Proudmoore, the Lost Vikings, and
That's awesome.
yeah, and Sylvanas actually. And I'm interested in Sylvanas because I like Sylvanas' character. So that's
So
one thing.
is Kerrigan in there yet?
Yes, Kerrigan is. She would happen to be on free rotation the first time I played. Um, I not really crazy about her. She feels kind of weak actually. She's a melee assassin character, which means she's
That's just. Oh, well, is she like Queen of Blades Kerrigan or like Psyops
yes, yeah, definitely Queen of Blades Kerrigan. Which I wouldn't be surprised if they add a skin for her, which is
Yeah.
like the Psyops version. But yeah, she just feels pretty weak to me. Which at the time that was like the first time I played, Dota or Heroes of the Storm rather, and so that very well could have just been my playing. But even the times I fought against her, the few times I've seen other people play her, like she didn't feel like a real threat at all. So
That
I'm
seems
hoping,
like such an antithesis to the character.
right, exactly. So I'm hoping they buff her up.
Yeah.
But it's funny because you definitely see the overpowered heroes that are like everywhere, but like in every single game, literally at this
Is
point.
Diablo a character?
Yeah, Diablo, which is weird. Is Diablo skin is like the big husky male Diablo, like from Diablo 2 and 1. But the videos, if you watch the heroes videos, it's the more feminine Diablo,
Yeah.
which I thought was very weird decision. I have a prediction. I have a prediction that the Liana or whatever her name was from Diablo 3.
Mm-hmm.
And this is going to be Diablo spoilers, but one, if you haven't beat Diablo yet, too bad.
Wait,
And two,
I haven't beat Reaper of Souls yet.
it doesn't matter. This is not
Okay.
Reaper Souls.
Okay.
And two, do you really care that much about Diablo's story?
Of course. It's the only reason I play.
But what's her name? Liana from the
I think
first.
it's just Leah, right?
Leah, was it? My prediction is she'll be in the game as a playable, and her ultimate will be turning into Diablo for a short time.
Okay.
I think that's what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Even though that would be kind of a weird choice for hero. But then again, Murky is a weird choice for a hero. So, whatever.
What about who's the old guy on Diablo? I forget his name.
Oh, Kane?
Yeah,
Kane?
Deckard Cain.
Deckard Cain.
Is he gonna be a playable character?
God. He like walks around the map really slow. It's like, hold on, guys. I'm coming.
And then he just unleashes this huge attack, like is balanced for the slow speed.
Right, he's like super, super slow, but he's ridiculously like more powerful than Diablo once he finally gets there.
That would be awesome.
But yeah, it's a lot of fun. If you get a chance to play it, play it. If the open or not open, but the closed beta is supposed to be starting in January, I think. And I think they're going to have Jaina added by then because they've already released, they've already showed a video of like the new skins that are coming out for the holidays, and Jaina has like a Christmas themed type dress going on. So I think she'll be out before January, and then I think Thrall is supposed to come around in January, and then the other two heroes are going to be added after that. But yeah, it's a heck of a lot of fun. It's definitely if you were scared away by the mechanics, like the being too in depth or too much crap to remember, definitely it should be on your radar. It's a ton of fun, like I said, and they also have the co-op mode just so you can kind of learn the game, figure out how it works, figure out how your hero works, things like that, and then before you do the actual real game, the versus games.
Cool. I hope I get in. That sounds
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah, I was kind of hoping that Blizzard would be like, man, we really need more people in. Let's just add everybody even after the date that makes it to level 20. Let's add their friends list. But apparently that's not happened yet, or probably ever. But hopefully they get a lot more people in the beta.
Yeah, I
Hopefully.
bet you they will. And they'll probably open up more invites and stuff too.
You are signed up on it, right?
I guess not. I thought I was, and then I was like, wait a minute, I don't think I am. Man,
You
I
might
need
want to check that after.
I'm
Yeah, I was gonna
check
say after this, you might want to check that out. Be like, man, why haven't they invited me yet?
Come
It's like,
on.
oh, wait, I didn't add it. I'm terrible. But yeah, you know what? What they need to do? Last thing on Heroes of the Storm, they need to make amiibos for Heroes of the Storm.
Oh man, Blizzard amiibos. I actually would like that.
See, that's what I'm saying. Like, I'd buy like a Kerrigan and a Sylvanas and an Abathur amiibo. Sure, why not?
See,
Have it.
I think people are bitching a lot about like amiibos. Like, well, they don't really do anything, or whatever. It's like, man, it's a little cool figurine of Mario and Link and Samus. Like, I would like it if they didn't do anything. Like,
Well, I
I don't
think
know.
that I mean the whole premise theoretically is that they add something to the game, which I still don't quite understand, but I
Yeah,
think it's a cool idea.
I guess the execution isn't very good on the interactive part, but I still like them as figurines.
Right. Oh
So
yeah, I definitely
to
like them
me,
as
it's worth
figurines.
$13 to have a Samus. I don't know.
But is it worth like $200 to have them all?
No, so I will not buy them all.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind like a Bowser or something. But yeah, I'd be curious to see
Bowser,
what
who's
their
Bowser?
Bowser.
Isn't he Koopa now? I thought the Bowser name was discontinued.
I'm
I thought he
calling him
was
Bowser.
King Koopa.
I don't know what Nintendo thinks they're doing, but I'm calling him Bowser.
I don't think it's been called Bowser since the 1990.
Well, he's Bowser. He'll always be Bowser to me.
Yeah, maybe he is Bowser. I don't know. I think they changed it. I thought it was King Koopa.
I think he's been both, but I mean, I've
Yeah.
heard both.
Now I'm gonna have
But
to do some research on my Mario lore.
hmm. Yeah. Well, anyway, regardless, yeah, the Amiibo thing, it's interesting. But yeah,
Yeah.
Blizzard should totally do that and have it somehow tie in. Like you get unique skins and in-game non-battle pets and stuff like that. Just start raking in more money than they already are.
Yeah.
I,
Imagine if you had like, okay, if Blizzard had amiibos, and you got one that would unlock like a pet in World of Warcraft, portraits in StarCraft, and a hero in uh, Heart of or Heroes of the Storm. I don't know. That would be really cool.
yeah. Oh yeah, and people would be all over that. I mean,
I
how
don't
many
think they've.
people?
I don't know. I don't see that happening though, because you'd have to
Yeah.
buy like a base too.
Right. Right. I don't know. I mean, it's not going to happen probably, but it
Yeah.
would be cool regardless. But the only other thing I really played at all was I started playing the pinball. What is it called? The pinball game on Steam. The
Pinball.
Pinball FX 2.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I bought
There's a
this.
lot of pinball games out there. Like
Yeah,
the Pinball FX, Pinball Arcade.
Pinball
Um,
FX is really the only one I ever see. But then again, that's on
yeah,
PC. So yeah,
it's
it's
the one modeled after real tables, though, right? Or is
no,
it fake tables?
it's definitely fake tables.
Okay, because
Because
one
I
of them is like recreations of real tables, and one of them's fake.
yeah, that would be kind of cool to play the recreations of the real table. But this one's definitely fake tables. But I just bought the South Park tables for it. It
Nice.
has like a regular South Park, but then they have the Butter Show table, which is the one I play
Butters.
on most of the time.
Oh, that's me.
Everyone knows it's Butters. Oh, God, that one is great. And it's
Classic.
like yeah, there's different episodes that you can unlock within the game. Like you can do the one where he became a vampire, where he's like, "How can you ground that which is undead?" His parents are like, "Oh, he's got a point." Yeah, it's just so stupid. But
Does it
God,
have Professor Chaos in there?
yeah, well, yeah, oh yeah,
Of course, it's got to.
yeah, you got to have Professor Chaos. But it's really good fun. I also just bought the Plants vs Zombies table. It was on sale for $1, so that one's pretty fun. It doesn't really seem to have a lot to it, but it's it's cute. It's got the whole Plants vs Zombie motif and the sound effects going off. It's like a typical pinball game with random sound effects going off when you
Yeah.
hit bumpers.
Bow, 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 bow.
Yeah, exactly.
It's
Or
awesome.
that are game related. And then the zombies will pop up out of the ground. You have to like hit them with the pinball and collect money and sunshine, and it's pretty cool. It's
That's cool.
those some of those tables are really nice looking. I don't really have that many of them, but even some of the one like the non-themed ones, or at least the non like licensed ones that they made up, look pretty cool. Like there's a Tesla pinball board. There's like a Supernatural where it's got ghosts and stuff. It looks like graphically looks really well done. I'd like to buy those. And most importantly, I found out there's a Venom table coming out, the comic book character. I
Nice.
love Venom. Like, I'm not that big into comics, and I haven't really read any lately, but I used to be big into Venom. I love Venom.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, yeah,
Venom's
that's a
awesome.
day one table purchase, which I'm sure that will be, that'll
I feel
be,
like that should be a real pinball table.
I feel like it should be too. And I feel like if it is, I should have that.
Yeah, there was last year, or no, it was this year. They had the game room expo thing in Atlanta, which I hate the title. It's Southern Fried Game Room Expo, which is just, I don't know. Just call it like the Atlanta Game Room Expo. Like it doesn't have to be something clever or cute. But anyway, they had basically every pinball game like you could imagine set up on free play, and it was pretty awesome. I mean, like a lot of times you have to wait for the popular games, so you just kind of be standing around a little bit. But they had Twilight Zone, Adam's Family, Terminator 2, Demolition Man, like stuff that I grew up with. It was a lot of fun. Um,
You,
but anyway, yeah,
yeah, if you like pinball, you should definitely, and I do like pinball, you should definitely check out the Pinball FX because the base game itself is free, I think. And I think it comes with like one free table, and then the rest are usually not too expensive. They range anywhere from $1 for a table to like 3 or 4 maybe for different tables. And they've got a lot of I think like Marvel based tables. There's a Walking Dead table, Guardians of the Galaxy, Deadpool. There's some Star Wars tables. So yeah, they've been building up a ton of different tables. Some random ones like Miss Explosion Man. That was seemed like kind of out of nowhere, but
is there
yeah,
some sort of like crossover between those developers? Like, did they do some sort of Missplosion Man port or something? So they did that, or that seems random.
I don't know. I really have no idea. I don't think so,
Yeah.
but yeah, that's pretty much all the stuff I've really been playing that's different lately. What about you?
Well, I've been playing a good healthy mix of old games and new games. So, first of all, I've been kind of I mean, this kick has been going on for a while, but just been playing a ton of classic games, and I finally decided I would import some games that I wanted. I got a Super Famicom, so Japanese Super Nintendo basically, and I got some Super Famicom games. Um, the funny thing is that there's a lot of games like I got Super Metroid, Yoshi's Island, Link to the Past. Like these games are dirt cheap over there, and they're like $40 a pop here. So a lot of them you can kind of get by without, like platformers like Yoshi's Island. It's not like you need to read about the story or something. Like you're just kind of jumping around these levels.
Right.
But that was it's just one of the random ones that's kind of like climbing value in for the American version, but it's just like $7 with free shipping from Japan, which doesn't make a lot of sense to me. But
Yeah.
like, how is that economic? I don't know. I don't care. Like, just give it to me. And what else did I get? And there's some other um but what's interesting is that the Super Metroid uh version is actually like literally the same ROM image. Like it's completely English. Like there's no difference at all.
Really?
Yeah, yeah. So that's kind of cool. So I've been working on I still have a um I want to do my own speed run on Super Metroid. Like not to break any records, obviously, because I don't think I'm physically capable of setting any like records, but just setting my own personal record. So I've been playing through that, and it's not like I'm play all the way through and then look at my time and then play all the way through. I'm just kind of like in planning stages. That's been a lot of fun. I love that game. Um, and I also got a PC Engine Duo, which is like a TurboGrafx Duo, but Japanese.
Yeah.
So what's cool about that is I can just there's no CD protection, so I can now burn any TurboGrafx CD game I want. So I've been playing
Not
a
that
lot
he
of.
would, of course.
I will, and I do.
He's totally gonna. He's totally gonna.
I'm but I've been playing Rondo of Blood, the Castlevania game, and that game's pretty hard. I still haven't beat it yet, and I haven't played it yet, but I'm gonna burn Ys books 1 and 2. I don't know if you've heard of that RPG.
Yeah, I have. I'd never
Yeah,
played any of them, or like I don't really even understand what they are, but I knew they were like really popular series of games, which I presumed were RPGs.
yeah. I played a bit of Ys Chronicles on PSP, which was the re-release of 1 and 2, and I kind of want to like everybody says that the TurboGrafx CD version is like the gold standard version because there were versions of Ys that came out for Super Nintendo, um, but I heard they just weren't as good as the TurboGrafx CD version. Um, so that's kind of like my retro gaming that I've been doing. I've also been doing some, I've been on this huge Castlevania kick for a while now, and I realized I still haven't played the Lords of Shadow games, and I kind of always like there. I never like played a 3D Castlevania game I liked. Like I always played the 2D ones. Like whether it's the classic like Nintendo, Super Nintendo, Game Boy Advance, PlayStation era, all those Castlevanias. But I never really liked, like Lament of Innocence or Curse of Darkness or, the modern 3D ones. So finally I was like, okay, I'm going to play Lords of Shadow. And I looked and there's, like a complete edition that has all the DLC.
Right.
And it was $30 for PC and $20 for PS3. And so, you know where I'm going with this story.
Mm-hmm.
I got the PS3 version. Just because I also wanted a physical version of this game because I collect Castlevania games. I just want to collect the Castlevania games. So I was like, I'll just get the physical copy. And my PS3 has not been behaving lately.
Really?
Yeah, like so I have a 60 gig like launch PS3 because of its backwards compatibility. It can play PS1, it can play PS2, it can play PS3, and it does not do it with emulation. Like it has the hardware built into it. So, in my opinion, it's the best PS3. The problem is that it was made in 2007, so it's kind of getting up there in years. So it's not reading discs consistently. So you'd be in the middle of a game and then it'll just hang because it goes to read something, and that just kept happening. And I was just like, ah. And then, like, just as like this happened at a crucial moment, I looked and it was 75% off on Steam. It was like $7. So it's like, okay, I'm just gonna play this on the PC. Buy it, download it. I get caught up to where I was, and oh my gosh, it looks so much better. Like,
Yeah.
it is insane. Like, I was thinking it's like, yeah, it'll be a little better on the PC, but gosh, man, it's not even close. So, yeah, I'm caught up on PC, and I've been recording it too. Like, so I might release this as a let's play, so you can experience my frustration, and you can experience the update and graphics too. Um, but yeah, I'm only about an hour in, or an hour and a half in, but I'm already caught up to where I was on the PC.
That's cool. Yeah, I keep picking that game up like once a year or so, and like I want to play this some more. Then I don't get that far just because I usually if I'm not recording a game for LP, like I don't can't schedule time for it, so it just
Yeah.
ends up kind of falling off. The same thing keeps happening with Metal Gear Revengeance.
Oh
Kind
yeah,
of
I want to play that.
yeah, it's pretty darn fun. Like
So are
just
they
slicing
similar
stuff.
games, I guess? I mean, like, I feel like there should be a name for this type of game, like God of War. Um, I don't know, Castlevania Lords of Shadow. Isn't Devil May Cry the new one pretty similar to this?
Yeah, like yeah, Devil May Cry, Bayonetta, and sort of God of War. Yeah, they need to have like their own like
Slice and dice.
slice and dice. Yes, that should
It's like
absolutely.
uh, combo combo action game. I don't know.
Yeah, there probably is, and I just can't think of what it is right now. But yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. It's just how RPGs are the same problem. There's so many types of RPGs. There needs to
Yeah,
be about 10 different
yeah.
subgenres
There
of
needs to be a
clarifications.
periodic table of genres.
Yes, yes, absolutely. And if your game doesn't fit
I
into one of
guess it would
those,
be
it
more
gets
of a
blocked.
hierarchical thing because like it would be a hierarchy of genres. Like there's RPG, but there's Western RPG, there's Japanese RPG, there's real time RPG, there's you know turn based RPGs, real time strategy. Like I don't know. This seems like an interesting problem. I'll get right
Yeah,
on it.
you should. Yeah, you should work on the categorization project. At
Hmm.
least for our start with RPGs. They're the ones that really need it really badly. But
So I
yeah,
have been working on a, I guess, curation project. I've kind of mentioned this before, but I've been playing around with Retro Arch. I don't know if you've heard of that,
mm-mm.
but basically it's kind of like a framework for emulators. So basically, emulation cores can be written uh, independently of like the executable and the runtime and it handles all the heavy lifting, and the
Yeah,
emulation cores are kind of like plug in for different platforms, and then you can apply shaders and you set up your controls. Like your your control input and your video output is handled by RetroArch, and then the actual specifics of the platform are handled by like a linked library that these emulation developers have written. Anyway, like it's like becoming the best way to emulate games. Like they're super accurate now, especially like Beast NES. It's just way better than any other Super Nintendo emulator. Like it used to be SNES 9X was the shit, but not anymore.
hmm.
Anyway, so I started out, and I always run into this problems when I get back into the emulation scene is like you or even on the EverDrive, it's like choose the you have every game ever, and then you just have to sift through it. So I gave myself a constraint of what are the top 50 games of each platform, and so I've been building these lists, and I think I'm gonna like package them together and just kind of like put them in a downloads to my friends because obviously I can't publicly post it anywhere, but it would be cool for people to be able to kind of use it as a basis of their own. Like this is Travis's top 50, like, and that includes like fan translations and stuff too, because there's a decent number of games that I kind of want to experience, like Fire Emblem or Mother, that never released in the U.S. but people have translated it.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's what I'm gonna do.
So you'll have that ready by the next podcast then.
Mm, maybe.
Yes. Yes, I will. See, that's
Not.
Travis.
I maybe like eventually I want to get to like arcades and handhelds, but like right now it's just cartridge based consoles because ISOs are pretty hefty too.
Yeah.
And I don't know, there are like groups that have released, the entire ROM set for different games, but they do not have like ISO sets like released just because they would be upwards of 200, 300 gigs. So they're not quite as easy to move around as a torrent. I mean, even though a torrent would be perfect for that, but not many people are going to seed a 300 gig torrent.
Yeah, probably not.
Um, but yeah, I think so. That is kind of the our our first part of our episode of what we've been playing. And for the Thanksgiving portion of the episode, I just wanted to come up with like some Thanksgiving themed questions to talk through. So I think the first one would be, and this is kind of uh, a silly sounding question, but in games, what is something either conceptually or even something outside of the games itself, but within uh, the games
Gaming.
we play within gaming, what is something you are thankful for this year? Like what is your favorite trend or even just game or mechanic?
Well, I think for me, and this is a bit self-serving, I think
That's what this holiday is all about.
exactly it is. One of the things that I really like to see or have liked to be seeing, it's been happening a little bit longer than a year, but it's been this year in particular, it's caught up, or well, not caught up for sure. But what we're seeing more of people moving to like specific personalities, specifically like YouTube or Twitch, to get a lot of their gaming news and impressions from, especially impressions, finding out if they like a game, moving more from what I guess would now be traditional media, which would be, big gaming websites,
Yeah.
and moving more towards people are not going so much to like Kotaku or these sites like that. Instead, they're going to Total Biscuit or Northern Lion or these other personalities to either watch their opinions on games or watch let's plays of them, or at least start to watch let's plays of them to decide I'm going to figure out if I like this game or not, figure out if I'm going to buy it or not. I really like that shift. Obviously, it's self-serving because that's what I do. I do let's plays and previews of games and stuff like that. So it's cool to see that shift, and it's interesting to be kind of like a part of it, even though I'm very, 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 very small part of it. It's cool to be part of this new movement, this new change in how consumers are getting information about games and about gaming in general, moving away from again what would be traditional
Yeah.
now, the traditional media, more to a newer media of YouTube and Twitch, and to a lesser extent, I guess, Twitter, the people they follow, etc. But more specifically, like I say, YouTube and watching like Total Biscuits, like WTFs, or that Vertigo Tea Parties. Let's Try is always watching. Everybody all watches his. They don't buy games
Yeah.
until he talks about it. I hear
Yeah.
that one every day, thousands
It's
of
pretty
times.
big. I think they're gonna come up with a Vertigo Tea Party seal of approval. They're gonna start putting on packages.
That would be a good idea. I would approve or disapprove of these games so we don't run into any problems with
Yeah.
busting. Well, luckily we haven't had any issues this year with any games being released
Now,
in a
everything's been
buggy
pretty
state.
rock solid.
Yeah, no
Yeah.
problems. Like everything's worked out of the box.
More on that later.
But that was a distance. I don't know if you
Yeah.
call it, well, not segue, but foreshadowing.
Yeah.
But that's what I'm thankful for. One, because obviously it helped. It works for me because I'm trying to get my channel off the ground. And two, it's just neat to be a part of it as well.
Yeah.
Like it's really neat to be like, when we look back 5 years from now or 10 years from now, be like, oh man, remember when we used to just go to Kotaku for our reviews? Like, wow, those were the days. Remember when Kotaku was still around? Stuff like that. It's cool to be part of that, even in a small way. It's always interesting to be like, instead of just hearing about it or just kind of watching it from the sidelines, being a part of it and going, okay, this is a thing. How can how can I use this to my advantage? And just like watching it all unfold, especially because I talk with other YouTubers as well, and it's interesting to hear their perspective. So it's just as a whole, I'm thankful for that whole transition in how consumers are finding information about gaming.
Yeah, and I think it's a shift that's obviously it's been happening for a while, but I feel like it might have gained the most momentum this year. I thought it was interesting. The game awards is next week, and they released the categories that they're awarding, and one of the categories, which is like, I guess viewer polled, is the best gaming personality of the year. And
Uh,
like Total Biscuit's up for it, and it's just like this idea that it kind of lends credence to the idea that um, you know what is the person that you turn to that is not like a journalist for opinion on this. Although I don't know, I wouldn't say he's not a journalist because Jeff Gersman is one of the uh, potential ones, but it's basically your favorite streamer or let's player that
right.
you watch them play this game, and you kind of through secondhand will kind of gain their insights on something in real time rather than having a prepared review. It's a little more raw, it's a little more real time, but
Right.
I
And
think
you
it's
get to see it as it unfolds too, I think is a big part of it.
yeah,
You get
yeah,
to see like their like you say, their live reactions, but you also like as they're playing, as opposed to reviews, say, "Oh, I ran into this bug and it was kind of annoying." When you see it in action, or you see this, I read this really cool part where this happened. But if you see it in video while they're talking about it and see,
yeah.
"Oh, whoa, that was cool," like it's a lot more like, "Yeah, that is cool. I want to buy this game right now." So I think that's a big part
It's
of
a
it as
lot
well.
more. It's a powerful way to experience what they're saying. Like when you read a review, you're not really experiencing it. You're just taking it for face value that these things happened.
Right.
But when you experience them like firsthand, it's a lot more impactful as like for the actual conclusion of is this game good or not. So yeah,
Right.
I think it's a pretty interesting shift. I like it too.
So what are you
I'm
thankful
also
for?
thankful for I'm thankful for that. But another thing I'm thankful for is kind of like, and I know I've mentioned this stuff on the podcast before, but the kind of growing trend towards um like homebrew hardware for retro games. So, in the past it's been kind of limited. If you wanted to make a modification to a console or something, you had to kind of do your own soldering, or you had to find somebody on a forum who made this PCB, and then you had to do all this stuff yourself. But like more and more, there's just because of technologies in PCB fabrication and like they're called FPGAs, but the certain type of chip costs have gotten low enough so that like the guy who makes the EverDrives, like this is one dude in the Ukraine that makes cartridges that take SD cards that allow you to play any ROM on real hardware for the Super Nintendo, Nintendo 64, NES, Genesis, Master System, Game Boy Color. I mean, like, one guy made these things, like, and I think that's so cool that it's accessible now that you can just get one of these cartridges for like $60 and play all these games. Um, and then like there are also Kickstarters, like somebody's making component cables for Super Nintendo and Sega Genesis, and like those consoles don't natively output component. Component is like the RGB kind of like cables that you put on modern TVs. Um, so these cables actually have built-in signal processing for them, but they could because of Kickstarter they can get the cables down to like $30, which it is unheard of for you know somebody coming up with and doing that themselves.
Right.
And then like there's another one called HD My Boy, which is basically this little PCB that you can put in your Game Boy to make it have HDMI output. So it's just like little projects like that I think are so awesome. And they're kind of like they're not the kind of things you'd find at a store or whatever, but they're also simple enough so that I could install it. Like that doesn't require any soldering at all to make your Game Boy output on HDMI. So it essentially turns it into a Game Boy console. But anyway, I think that stuff's pretty cool.
That is
And
pretty.
I'm thankful for that because like this is stuff that I like to kickstart too. Because it's kind of fun to see it come to fruition. Sometimes it doesn't work out though. Like one guy was working on a project called Universal PPU for the NES. So the PPU is the picture processing unit. It's kind of like before there was GPUs. They just call them PPUs. But there's a chip on the NES that outputs in composite video and RF. But if you want to do an RGB mod, sometimes there was one solution where you had to replace the chip by basically destroying an arcade board which had a different PPU. So like versus Mario Brothers or versus Excite Bike, these were arcade games that Nintendo made, and somebody was working on like a replacement to that, and they were like, he had a website up for it, he had like a blog, and he's like, I'm gonna make these chips, and people were super excited about it, and then he got like 90% of the way there, and he was like, I don't have time for this anymore. Like, and it's just like all these people that were following along were just like, it's not gonna happen. So it's like sometimes it goes the other way too, because
Yeah.
it really, for those people that are making it in their garage or basement, these little projects, they are super time sinks. Like you have to put in hundreds of hours to make this stuff releasable, and and to, you have to do cost optimization stuff too, because if you're doing a one-off, it doesn't really matter if you're doing it in a cost ineffective way, but if you want to make something for the masses, like you have to get it cost optimized so that people don't like, aren't all the people that are all in look at it like, oh, $200 for that, like, no, that doesn't make sense, I won't get that. So then no one will buy it.
Right. Yeah.
So it's interesting to see kind of your homebrew hack modder having to design around these like very common, like the things you might think only like a company has to worry about, but for the viability of this homebrew project, they have to consider it too.
Yeah.
Anyway,
That's
all.
it seems like it's especially a lot of times, like you say, it's probably just some guy
Yeah,
in his garage coming up with this crap, and then all of a sudden he's like got to figure out, he can just suppose just making it for himself or for a friend, he's got to figure out how to mass produce that stuff without it costing out the wazoo, and actually making sure it's works. Yeah. Oof.
yeah,
No
do
thanks.
a lot of testing. So it's kind of interesting. So a lot of the Kickstarters I see, luckily the one of them is called Retrovision, which is, or it's like HD Retrovision, which is going to be component cables for Super Nintendo and Sega Genesis. Like they have a working prototype, but they're not saying it'll be ready until July next year, because they want to do cost optimization testing, in production. So it seems like that seems like a realistic timeline. I don't know, maybe even they might go past that, but I don't know how long the HD My Boy will take to come out. Sounds interesting.
HD My Boy.
Yeah, they kind of like instead of HDMI Boy, HD My Boy.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay,
Wow.
so on to question 2 of the Thanksgiving Spectacular. As you know, this holiday is all about feasting your, on turkey and really stuffing your face with stuffing. But what is some of your favorite stories of basically binge gaming or playing a game for an inordinate amount of time?
Probably my best, or my favorite, or most one that I will remember forever, I guess you could say, was the World of Warcraft Burning Crusade release.
Oh yeah.
I wasn't working at the time. I had quit my job because it sucked, so I wasn't working. So I had pre-ordered the collector's edition at like a Walmart, I think. I went down there to pick it up, for the midnight release thing. Got there like at least 3 or 4 hours early, I think, and because I don't think they reserved it, so I think it was a first come first serve type deal. So I think that's what happened. I think I bought the collector's edition, but at the time, like Amazon didn't have the whole like same day shipping that they have now
Oh yeah.
for the new releases. So I was like, I'm not gonna wait to play it. That's insane. Like, you can't wait to play the new expansion. Nobody
No.
does that.
Got to get in there as soon as possible.
Oh yeah, the minute servers are up. So I I went to the store and I started kind of waiting around. There's people waiting around even like 3 and 4 hours ahead of time. And it turned out actually a lot of the people there were, I don't know if you're familiar with this guild, but there's a guild called Elitist Jerks. I don't know if they're still a big thing around now, but back in the day, like around the EverQuest years and early WoW, they were a pretty major guild, Elitist Jerks. And I found out that several of the people there were from Elitist Jerks, which was pretty cool. So we kind of hung out and we were just all talking about various things like WoW and EQ and stuff. But anyway, so on the way home, I had kind of planned for this too. I knew I was going to binge play, so I had like a mini DVD player, and I burned like a dozen discs of Mystery Science Theater of various episodes.
Oh, that's so awesome. I love that you were preparing to binge too. Like this wasn't just like, I'm gonna do this. It was like, this is forethought and everything. This is great.
Yeah, Illidan kept saying I wasn't prepared, but I absolutely was prepared.
Yeah.
But but anyway, it's so I had all those discs ready to go, and I stopped on the way home and ordered like a big sack full of crystals, which those of you who are not in the Southeast U.S., it's like White Castle, but they're good. They're like little small burgers, like little tiny little square burgers. So when I say I get a dozen burgers, people are like, "Oh my God, Americans really do eat a lot."
They're like sliders, basically.
Yes, they're like just small little burgers. Like eat them in like 1 or 2 bites.
Mm-hmm.
So I get that. I came home. I sat down. Servers were up. There was like no problems at all getting in installed, like which was amazing, especially given the launch of WoW.
Remember back in the day when things worked at launch?
Yeah. Well,
those were the times.
I mean, that was the first. It wasn't technically a launch, I guess, maybe expansion launch, but that was one of the first MMO launches I remember not being a total cluster. Like it was just so smooth. Like I mean, WoW release was horrific.
Yeah.
And which, I honestly do believe they didn't expect as many people as they did. So, but it took them way too long to fix it. But I still like understand they were completely overwhelmed. Anyway, so there was completely smooth launch, installed, hopped right in the game. There wasn't any serious lag. I made a Blood Elf Paladin because I was like, I want these OP Paladins. And they were OP as hell, by the way. They were totally overpowered until, oddly enough, they buffed Paladins and then nerfed, they nerfed Paladins and buffed Shaman after the Horde got the Paladins, which I found to be amusing, despite them repeatedly saying, no, they're totally balanced. But anyway, so yeah, I sat down. I think I played my first session was probably like 30-ish hours.
What?
Oh yeah, because I remember.
Gosh,
I remember.
So
I remember hitting around the 24
not sleeping.
Right. Yeah, because I had slept. See, like I had tried to schedule it so I would wake up and then go to the midnight release because I wanted to binge play, and I wanted to level as fast as possible because I wanted to be able to raid. Because we were going to try to do we were like a hardcore raiding guild. We wanted to raid, so I wanted to get to the raiding level as quickly as possible. So. It was at least it was probably within the 26 to 30 hour range because I remember hitting 24 hours or so and not even being remotely tired. I remember I was just like, nope, let's just keep doing this thing. Let's keep going.
And they added 10 levels for Burning Crusade, right?
Yes.
So it's 65 to 75?
It was 60 to 70. Or was it 50 to 60? Because I think maybe the original WoW wasn't it max level 50?
Maybe.
I can't remember.
Yeah.
It's been
50 to 60.
It's been a decade. Like I don't really remember now. But
yeah, it's crazy. It's been a decade.
Yeah, I know.
So how many levels did you gain in that 30 hours?
Oh, I have no idea.
Yeah.
It wasn't that fast because at the time Paladin leveling was really slow and frankly pretty damn boring. I ended up doing a decent amount of dungeons, I think. This was before Dungeon Finder 2, I think. So I would just kind of like advertise for, healing because I think I spec'd more for healing a little bit so I could heal in dungeons. Because again, this was before multi-talent trees or having different like trees, like stables, so that you could say, oh, I'm going to level as DPS, but then switch over for healing for dungeons or whatever. So yeah, it was the dark days. But yeah, like my God, I got so many levels and It was actually fun too to hop into battlegrounds with my paladin because I was like being one of the very first horde paladins that the other team had to deal with. Oh, it was glorious! Like I could just taste those delicious alliance tears as I'm like, because like there's a few in particular instances in the war zones that I remember. Like I was healing this like warrior guy. He was just running around just destroying everyone, and they would root him, a root or snare him, and then I would just throw the blessing of freedom on him, which makes him completely immune to snares and roots. So they're like trying to cast roots and snares, and they're not dying. And then finally they try to attack me, and then I'm healing myself, and then I'm laying on hands, and then they finally get me really low, and then I bubble and heal back to full. And I was like, yes, yes.
I
Now you
like
see the completely overpowered nonsense we've been dealing with for over 2 years now.
I like how much pleasure you derive from the misery of others, especially when they're alliance. I mean,
Well,
I have
when
no
it's
problem with that.
alliance,
Yeah,
if you play alliance, you deserve misery. Let's be
yeah,
honest.
yeah,
But it was glorious, and of course afterwards they nerfed paladins and they added spells to get rid of shields because suddenly now that the horde has it, it's suddenly overpowered. But funny how that works.
yeah, yeah.
And they had easy street raiding for like 2 years. Must have been nice because like raiding with shaman, man, shaman weren't even that great at healers. Like they did all right at the time, like back like in the molten core, they did okay, but you'd rather have a priest or well, basically any healer, but a shaman. I mean, like I said, the totem range was awful. It was just a mess. Like I like the idea of the totems, which apparently they've changed them up a bit now. I don't know how they work now, but yeah, it's just what a mess. But yeah, that will always be one of my fond memories of just binge playing and like
Yeah.
for so long, and it was just like, and that whole new expansion thing, right? Like I love when there's a new expansion for an
Yeah.
MMO.
But just
Uh,
that feeling of like everyone's experiencing new content. It just feels like the world is new, kind of just like everybody's jumping in and everybody's experiencing new stuff at the same time. I mean, it's fun to play an MMO and experience new things, but there's something special about it when everyone is experiencing it for the first time at the same time.
huh. Yeah, it's and that new MMOs and expansions for MMOs are always really really awesome because it's like all new content. You're exploring the new stuff,
Yeah.
and yeah, I don't know. There's just that. That's why I don't get people. Oh, well, I don't play a new MMO when it first comes out. I'm like, that's the
So
time to
you're
play it.
missing out on a lot of fun.
You're
It's just
yeah, getting in later is it's all right, but it's not the same. That's why I was actually I was straight up disappointed when Warlords came out. Warlords of Draenor, the new WoW expansion came out,
mhm.
because I wasn't psyched. Because I wasn't like, yeah,
Yeah.
like part of that whole new, let's get in this and, let's do this new stuff and do these new dungeons and explore these new areas with your guild and whatnot. Like I was
Yeah.
disappointed that I was like, oh, I'm not part of that anymore. Like that was kind of disappointing.
Yeah, I can definitely see that. And I still am planning on trying it out, but I don't really feel like I mean like if there's a price drop on the expansion, I'll like, yeah, sure. $20 I'll jump in, but otherwise I'm not really super compelled to play it. Well, I don't think I could beat a 30-hour binge session. I don't think I've ever experienced that in my life, despite having, a couple of extra lives under my belt. But I do have one. Actually, I have a couple good stories. Um, the first is, you know, I think both of these happened in between high school. Oh no, this first one was between high school and college. So kind of like after you graduate high school, it's just like this feeling of like, cool, whatever. Like I don't have any responsibilities for the time being. I don't have to worry about it.
Right.
Obviously you got to go to college or whatever. But at the time, I was just like living at my parents, doing whatever, hanging out with friends. And one of my friends, Chris, we would go over there and play. Um, we played Gauntlet Legends. I think it was on the
Huh.
PS2, and it was I think it was just like random, like, hey, I heard this was supposed to be pretty cool, whatever. Let's just jump in and play. And so I think we started playing at like was like 10 at night. Like we ate and we hung out and we talked a bit and then we started playing about 10. And we're sitting there playing and just like rolling through these dungeons. Like just it's kind of just that feeling of like Diablo, like tons of experience, tons of loot, and just buying stuff, figuring out how the game works, figuring out the rune system and kind of talking through. It's a pretty simple game. Like it's not deep at all. But
Right.
there's something satisfying about the combat where you're just kind of rolling through hordes, and we just kind of get in the zone. And then I look out the window and I see the sun, and it's just like, oh my god, like it's dawn. Like it's just like it was, it's probably not the longest like play session I've ever done, but it was the one that I felt like I lost time the most. Like you just
Yeah.
lose the concept of time, and so it's just like you realize like, oh my gosh, like the sun's out, like it's tomorrow, like just played all night long, and that was pretty fun. Like it's just kind of that feeling of playing a game with a friend where you just losing time. Um, and then the other game I played a ton of was ironically in between college and a job. So I graduated college, had my degree and began the job search. And it took a couple months, but I was at my parents' house, just kind of, you know, throwing resumes at people constantly. But in the downtime, um, I was really into Final Fantasy 11, and so it was just I was like doing my first MMO, and um, yeah, like I would just play it just a ton, like, and the progression on that game is just so painfully slow.
Oh
So
yeah, God yes.
I mean, I played it for hours and hours, and I never maxed out a character just because I loved skipping around and learning different jobs. And in that game, you could change your character can change classes, or they call them jobs, which is kind of a Final Fantasy throwback. But they essentially, your character could be whatever class you wanted to, but you had to go home and change your class. And so you had levels associated with your class. So you could be a level 30 black mage and then all of a sudden be a level 5 warrior or whatever. So it was kind of interesting because you got to try out a lot of different gameplay mechanics while also keeping your character and some of the uh, quest progression of your character intact. So you would have quests, and like I think it's the only time I played an MMO where I was like pay attention to the story and do the quests, and I'd like learn that there would be intrigue, and you could tell kind of like they wrote some of the quests and they actually wanted to tell a story. Um, but I think from then on, like most MMOs I play, I'm just like whatever, give me the experience points. But I just remember playing for hours and hours and hours at home, and that was a lot of fun. I ended up putting some inordinate amount of time on that game, and I still every now and again I get like a wild hair. It's like, man, I should jump into Final Fantasy 11 again, and then I'm just like, oh god, no,
Yeah, no.
this is broken. Like it's such a weird thing now because they have all these odd mechanics to accelerate leveling, and you can level a lot faster in that game, but it's still pretty weird. I don't know. I keep telling myself I'm gonna jump into Final Fantasy 14 at some point now that it's fixed.
Yeah.
Um,
You never did buy it when they did the Realm Reborn, did you?
no, I didn't. I did play. I got a month for free because I bought the broken version, which honestly I'm still I part of me is kind of like pissed that I just didn't get rolled into the fixed version. Like I don't want to have to buy the game again. I think that's kind of crap. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, that
Like
does kind of
I
suck.
think that's BS. You should give me a copy of it. Um, but yeah, like I think I'm gonna get it when there's gonna be some sale on it. Either today, tomorrow, or sometime, and I'm gonna get it. So I'm gonna jump
Yeah.
back into it.
It's pretty fun, though. I will say I keep wanting to jump back in, but mostly just because I want to chop trees down. I don't know why.
Yeah,
Like I just ran
I'm saying
around chopping trees down.
that was something I did in Final Fantasy 11. Like I was addicted to crafting, and like there were times when I would log in and just shoot the shit with the people on the guild and build desks. Like, just look at the materials costs and like what was going on in the auction house, and be like, all right, I'm just gonna build me some furniture today. And like,
Yeah.
I don't know, I had fun.
Yeah, I tried to get it in Final Fantasy 11 a long time ago because I'd heard about the combat system, and the combat system seemed really cool, and the job system. But
Yeah,
man, I don't think I even got to level 10. Like some of the mobs were just like so tedious to fight. Like there
and
was
some of them
one
are
mob in
brutal.
particular. Yeah, like even at that level. Like I remember one time one mob like did a like some kind of stun gazed on me. I was like, "Oh, okay, so I'm stunned for a second or two." It's like literally 10 seconds later, I'm still stunned and the mob is just
Yeah,
beating the hell out of me. I'm like,
yeah.
hello?
The
Like, can I
status effects are
please do
brutal
something?"
in that game, and you
Yeah.
can't solo after like 6. You get a level 6 solo, and then you need to get at least you pair up until the teens, and then from the teens on, you have to be in a full party. And you have to go to like designated areas where people will pull mobs, and you manage aggro. Like you have to play the you have to play like the uh the levels outside as if it were a dungeon in WoW. Like you have to manage ag and do all this stuff that I feel like I only associate that with like dungeons in WoW. Like when I'm out and about in the, you know, I don't know what the term is, but just like the overworld, like the world itself, like the normal world. Um, then it's just kind of like what's a walk in the park in WoW. Like in Final Fantasy 11, you would look over and you'd see a mob. If you're traveling by yourself, and you'd be like, oh man, I better not aggro that. Like you'd really have to tiptoe around it. Um, but in WoW, it's like I'll just run through. I don't care if I ag anything. Like they can't slow me down. But just a random mob in a zone would, if as soon as he sees you, cast root or whatever or the equivalent, and you're stuck and you're stunned, and you're dead, and you lose experience when you die, and you
Yeah.
could de-level when you die. So like you could like level up to, and this happened, level up to 30, spend all your money on new level 30 gear, and then de-level, and now you can't you have to use your old gear. And if you
That
sold
was
your
the
gear to get
worst.
the new gear, you're screwed. Like you're absolutely screwed. You have to like get donations from people in your guild to make it. Like it's just brutal.
Yeah, I hated that with EverQuest, like losing a level, and I don't think they had level restrictions on gear, but like spells would. So like you get
Yeah.
the new spell and then de-level, and then you wouldn't be able to cast it. Oh, it was so annoying.
Yeah, it's pretty brutal, and it's just so painful because when you level in Final Fantasy 11, it was like a thing. It's like, oh my god, yes, I leveled. Because I yeah, I didn't even get close to maxing out level. I got to I got to basically the point where you could explore the whole world. You could probably do that safely around level 40 or so. Um, and by safely, I mean as long as you know which zones to not aggro mobs. But you could pretty much see all the content and do a lot of the, um, see the new areas and stuff. And I just got so stuck on exploration and crafting that I didn't continue leveling at all. But I I put in hundreds of hours in that game. It's crazy.
Oh yeah, yeah. I'd be curious to find out my total hours both with WoW and with EverQuest.
I wonder if my character still exists. I don't think it does.
On Final, oh yeah, because they did that really stupid thing where they would delete characters after so long, didn't they? At least
Yeah.
for a while.
Yeah.
That was like so idiotic. Like I'm sorry, even at the time, hard drive space wasn't that expensive that they
Yeah.
couldn't have saved a character. Like that was just really dumb on their part.
It's really dumb too because it's like that really hurts your resubscription rates. Like who's going to come back and start fresh, you know? But if like 2 years later somebody's like, "Oh, like I could continue pick up where I left off. Like people are going to be way more likely to do that.
Right, exactly, and it's just not smart. And also, didn't they have it at least again at the beginning where you couldn't even pick your server? You just like went to a random server, and if you wanted to go to a specific one, you had to get some kind of pass or some crap.
No, you could pick your server when I played, but it was very restrictive. Like most of the time it would say no. You can't go to that server. Um so like I had to coordinate with friends to get on a specific server. And then the annoying thing is like we were all on the same server and then we stopped playing for a while, but they had to turn off some servers, and so we all got reassigned to different servers.
Oh,
And it's like
that's
I
dumb.
don't know, like have some logic about like friends list and guilds to keep people on the same server that were on the same server, you know? But it's just kind of lazy. They just kind of like reassign people randomly because they just spread them out over the existing servers.
Yeah, that's probably the dumbest way to do that.
Yep. It's the easiest way to do it, but it's the dumbest way to do it too.
Yeah, who does that? Like everybody, it's almost always every time I've ever seen closings like that. It's like okay, everybody from this server is being merged over with this server, or whatever. It's never like you're just gonna end up somewhere random
Yeah. Yeah.
because that's dumb. So nobody does it.
I don't know if you
Even
can
the
hear.
cat thinks that's
Yeah.
dumb.
Demetrius
Cat's like,
wanted to
"What?"
speak up.
Demetrius
I
like,
can't believe they would close a server like that. That's
what
ridiculous.
what an idiot! If I can't play with my friends, I'm not even gonna bother. Meow.
Seriously.
Dimitri's been wanting to have his own podcast for a while.
You should totally help him start one out. I think that would be very good. Probably better than ours.
Probably.
Well, more popular at least.
Yeah, it'll get a lot more listeners.
Yeah. People would just, turn into a podcast of a cat just staring at a camera and meowing.
If it's got cats on it, I think it'll be successful on the internet.
Probably, yeah. Like that grumpy cat. Man,
Yeah,
how much money has that cat earned those people?
millions. Probably millions. Or maybe million. I would say about $1 million. Because he's got like so many sponsorship things too. Like he's on TV now.
He's got his a Lifetime movie coming out too.
Oh my god.
Though Aubrey
I
Plaza's doing the
simultaneously-
voice, which is perfect.
I simultaneously love and hate that we live in a world with that kind of stuff. Like it's just so stupid, but then part of me is like, I love how stupid it is. Like, okay, so do you see the Jurassic World trailer?
I haven't seen it yet.
Okay.
I want to though.
I'm excited about it, but I have seen a ton of like, that's so stupid. That's the dumbest thing ever. Blah blah blah. But it's like, man, it's just a dumb dinosaur movie. Like I think that looks awesome. Like
Yeah.
it's got some of the same roles. It's got like the scientist, like, kind of the Jeff Goldblum character. Like, what are you scientists doing? You shouldn't mess with nature. Like, that's Chris Pratt.
The
Like,
hippie scientist, right?
Yeah. So Star-Lord is that guy. So I like that. Like, I just think that's. I don't have any illusions about the formula of Jurassic Park, and good on them for iterating, or at least making another version of the same movie. Like, I'm okay with that.
Yeah, as long as you know what you're getting into when you're going into it. It's like some movies you just gotta kind of like I say, flip the switch off and then
Yeah.
just enjoy it for what it is.
Yeah, exactly. Like, no, I don't know. Don't go into Jurassic World with your Roger Ebert hat on.
Right. Yeah. Like don't go into Sharknado and then come out as like, let me tell you why that's not possible.
Yeah.
Like yeah, we know it's not possible. Jag off. It's just not the point.
Yeah. Just, I don't know. But I mean, that's not to say like I'm incapable of watching a smart movie, and really looking at it critically and analyzing it. It's just like sometimes you got to turn that off.
Yeah. Exactly.
At least if you are capable of turning it off, you will have a lot more fun. Like, you will enjoy it.
Though I couldn't turn it off enough to actually enjoy Independence Day.
Yeah. Independence Day is pretty bad.
And they're making a second one now.
I just hope it just gets worse. Because the thing is, Independence Day wasn't bad enough to be fun. It wasn't good enough to be fun.
Yeah, that's the thing. Is like it wasn't that kind of bad. It wasn't
I would
like
love an
this
Independence
is
Day
ridiculous.
that's super duper bad. Like, I don't know, I'm trying to think of like on in the order, but I did see Interstellar, and
I don't even know anything about that movie
I
other than
loved that
space is
movie.
involved.
I loved it. Like that's another one that I've seen people like, no, that was stupid. Like, man, I don't know. I love 2001, and there was a lot of references and nods to 2001. Good. It's good.
You know what's funny? Kind of curbing this back to video games.
Mm-hmm.
I find it interesting that none of the games that we played are any of the huge releases. GTA 5 just came out on PS4 and Xbox One. Assassin's Creed Unity. Dragon Age Inquisition. Far Cry 4. Like, we haven't playing any of the big ones. Like, we're like, oh, I played Heroes of the Storm in this pinball game. What'd you play? I played this hacked together ROM thing from 20 years ago. It's like, wow, cutting edge we are.
Yeah. So actually, hopefully that'll change in the next podcast. I just bought Shadow of Mordor and Alien Isolation.
Hey, you're only like 2 months behind.
Yeah, I know. Like, it's not like the latest games, but the reason I got them is because they were $20 each. So it's like, I don't know. To me, this is the time to buy. It's like wait 2 months or even a month, and they'll be a third of the price. It's like, why would I not do that? Like, I don't know. Because those games I really want to play, but there wasn't like that, like I have to have them urge. So, anyway, I got them on sale, and there's going to be probably tons of sales today and tomorrow. I don't know. I might get another game. We'll see.
Yeah, the only thing I bought so far was the Plants vs. Zombie table, which was $1. So far the damage done has only been $1.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm $40 in, which is I don't know, not bad when you consider there's a pretty new beefy single player games. You've already played Shadow Mordor, so you know.
Yeah, I 100%ed that game.
See, that is
I got all achievements in Shadows of Mordor.
If Vertigo Tea Party 100% is a game, I take notice.
Yeah, I don't 100% games too often, but I did go ahead and get all the achievements on that. I also I did load it back up though because I got a new video card, the GTX 970.
Yeah. How's it been?
I cranked it up. Yeah, it runs really well. It runs well. I cranked everything up to ultra and played around a bit. Game looks damn good. Game looks
still runs
fun.
really good.
Yeah, I was still getting even with everything max, like ultra textures and everything. I was still getting 50 to 60 most of the time.
What resolution are you running at?
1920 by 1080.
Okay, that's the thing. It's like if you're still 1080p, you can get a huge like bang for your buck on performance. It's when you start getting like, what is it, 2360, whatever. Like,
yeah. See, that's the thing is like when I was looking at buying a new monitor because mine had dead pixels for years, and finally I was just getting fed up with it. But I was looking at a new monitor, and people were like, "Oh yeah, get you at no smaller than a 27 to 28 inch screen, and you might want to look at the 30 inches." And I was looking at them, and of course I'm like drooling at the idea of a nice 28 inch monitor. But I was like, okay, two problems. One, if I want to run this on high graphic settings, then my frame rate's going to tank. And two, with recording the games for Let's Plays, which is what I do for most of them, then it's going to tank even worse.
And you can't do any better on 1080 for your Let's Plays anyway.
Right. I think they actually technically support, or at least did support 1440 on YouTube, but a lot of people couldn't even watch it probably on 1440.
Yeah.
And it wouldn't make that much difference because it's YouTube.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I would love to do it. And like maybe if I got a second 970 and, SLI'd them, then maybe look at getting like a 1440 monitor. But I'm glad I stuck with
well, there you go. You have your solution, man. What are you waiting for? That's
yeah.
Sure, that's only going to be like $1,000, another grand to play games like that. It's like you think about the difference in price from what you have now to that is more than two consoles. like, like I don't know. It's just funny to the economics of PC gaming versus console gaming.
Well, and the thing is too, these cards actually aren't that much. This 970s, I think it was like 350 ish.
Okay, I was thinking they were like 500.
The 980s
Okay.
are, yes, and that's what I was gonna get. But the one, they were really hard to find, and two, people were saying the difference is not that big between the two, especially for the price jump. So it was like it wasn't really worth it. So I was like, might as well just get the 970 and then maybe get a second one down the road if it'll actually fit in there.
I've always found the
card.
best like performance value ratio is $300 to $350. Like after that, like I don't feel like I'm getting my money's worth. And before that, like I don't know, the what you spend is what you get curve is good up until that point, like $300, $350.
Right, and I feel like for the money for this card, it's a really nice card for that kind of money. So it's if you're in PC gaming, like seriously, I would very seriously look at the 970s if you can find them, and grab one.
Dang it.
Not thinking of anyone in particular. I'm just throwing it out there that again, I was running Shadows of Mordor on Ultra, getting 50 to 60 frames a second, just and that'll look good. The game looks. I just throwing it out there. If we were still doing podcasts in the same room, after the podcast, I would totally show you, and you would probably just go ahead and order one.
I can't, man. I just.
It's just Christmas time. This is your Christmas gift.
More money than I ever have in my entire life. All right.
Yeah.
We're building a house, so money's a little tight right now.
Yeah, there's always a little tight time when you're doing the whole new house thing.
Yeah. So we got to live that for a little while.
That'll be fun.
But I am thankful for the fact that I will soon be a homeowner. So
yes,
see what I did there?
That was a nice flow.
Tying
very
it
thankful.
all back.
I'm thankful that you're thankful.
Overarching theme of thankfulness. So I think I'm actually gonna have to cut it off here because pretty soon we're gonna be headed over to the in-laws for some turkey.
Oh, fun! Yeah, I might order Chinese. I think I don't really do the holiday thing really much.
That's a surprise. It seems like you're always so jolly and festive. I don't understand.
I know, social butterfly. I was going out and doing stuff. I know it's hard to believe, but yeah, I don't really do the whole Thanksgiving thing, which is probably one of the only holidays I wish I maybe did do.
It's a pretty good holiday. I like it.
Yeah, I mean, it's eating a whole lot.
Yeah, it's about eating and not doing anything.
Yeah, my favorite things in the world, actually.
I'm really good at those too.
Probably my two favorite. Gaming is third, but eating probably number one. Doing nothing number
Sleeping.
two.
Sleeping's
I have a love-hate affair with sleep.
How would you hate sleep?
Because it wastes time that I could be doing nothing.
Yeah.
I could be just sitting around doing nothing, but I'm sleeping.
Like, yeah, I know. Exactly.
Well, that's
you have
dumb.
all this stuff to do.
I want to be conscious while I'm doing nothing.
I've always had the fantasy of, that Twilight Zone episode where the guy can stop time? Like, if you had the ability to stop time, sleep, and then wake up and start time.
That would be amazing.
Because then you could experience the joys of sleep while, still being able to do other things. But then people would be like, how does he never sleep? That's amazing.
Just be like, I'm motivated, man. You need to be more motivated. Also, you could rob banks and stuff. There's those other side effects.
Yeah, but the thing is, that would draw too much attention to, like, the concept, and then people would, like, I don't know.
I don't need
come up with theories or something
to steal $1 billion from banks. If I could get, you steal like $100,000, you're good for several years. Nobody, like, the mystery goes unsolved, and 4 or 5 years later, depending on
when the vault door is open, though. You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, yeah, you can just kind of figure that out. Maybe get a job at a bank
Oh, but no, but then
temporarily.
well, this will be on a separate podcast. We'll determine best ways to be a criminal with time stopping powers.
I can see like be super easy.
Yeah, I think it would be. And then
You could
you
do
know what?
poker.
It's like,
Poker would be an easier way too, right? You just kind of keep stopping time and looking at their.
oh yeah, but then you'd get like the crap beat out of you. Well, then you could just freeze time and escape.
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
All right, we gotta make this thing. This is it's gotta happen.
Yeah, we got to figure out how to stop time.
Yeah.
That shouldn't be too difficult. We just put our minds to it.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that'd be pretty simple. All right, all you gamers, eat lots of turkey, play lots of games, buy lots of games.
Even if you're vegan,
Yes,
it's okay. You can eat turkey today. This is your exception.
or
Turkeys are jerks. Anyway.
tofurkey, if you prefer. You know, if
No, God, no. Don't.
you're
Don't
terrible
even-
like that.
Yeah, no. Don't insult us. No, it's disgusting.
Yeah. All right. Happy Thanksgiving, guys.
All right. Happy Thanksgiving, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Some of the favorite Thanksgiving hymns known by millions are Come Ye Thankful People Come and Now Thank We All Our God. We asked Dr. Nordholt if he knew of other Thanksgiving hymns known or loved by the Dutch people.
And don't you have the Dutch song, We Gather Together?
We gather together.
Yeah, that's of course originally a Dutch song of the late 16th century. Wilt heden nu treden voor God en Heere. That song.